Hi, beloveds. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. So, I want to talk about weight and wages. All right. Um, so, people who are overweight or people who are obese, people who are considered fat, people who weigh more than the average person, whatever average is, they get discriminated against. They get discriminated against when they're looking for jobs, when they get a job, when layoffs happen. They are an oppressed group. They are in a group that is historically oppressed, particularly in the United States. In the United States, we have issues around overweight people or people we consider overweight. We just have all these stigmas and stereotypes, and a lot of it is not true. Sometimes we think overweight people are lazy and all they do is eat potato chips all day, and that is not true. A lot of reasons why people are obese are medical reasons. They could have thyroid issues. They could have other things that cause them to be overweight that have nothing to do with how active they are, what kind of food they eat. But the culture that we live in tells us that it's their fault, they caused it. And so anyway, we have a lot of weird issues around how we perceive people who are heavier than the average person. And when we're applying to jobs, it continues. That stigma continues into trying to find a job. So employers, they want healthy employees. They want employees that have, the positive characteristics based on our culture. And so sometimes when employers look at heavy people, they say, oh, that person's not healthy. They're going to be taken off of work. They're going to run up our healthcare costs. They're going to be lazy. They come up with all kinds of things that just are not true. That are not true. Because I can tell you, thin people can be just as lazy and run up healthcare costs, but those are things employers shouldn't be thinking about, but they do. Okay, and so overweight people or people who are considered to be overweight, they have a huge disadvantage. Statistically, they earn less, they start at lower salaries, they have fewer promotions, and also in social situations, it's harder. Let's say you're going out to lunch. I remember a place I used to work. There was she was a really big lady, wonderful, worked hard. She was amazing, but she would be considered obese. Whenever we went out for lunch as a group, I never saw her one time not order a salad. This woman, I thought that salads were like her favorite food. Every time we had any kind of event, she was always eating a salad. And it wasn't until later that I thought to myself, you know what? If she ate anything but a salad, people would totally judge her. Totally judge her. And so I remember that and I think about that. So anyway, people who are perceived as overweight have huge disadvantages. And on top of that, if you're a woman and you're overweight, women who are overweight or who are perceived to be overweight report discrimination because of their weight over 3 times more than obese men. Okay, so women have it worse. And if you look at some of the research from like Ivan Shirka, Norton Han, the American Medical Association, there's a lot of statistics and research done around this that support this. When you look at labor statistics and things like that. So in any case, employers also look at people who are heavier as having less leadership potential than their less heavy peers. It's just really ridiculous. And particularly when you look at jobs that are high visibility and have high physical expectations, the discrimination is even worse. Okay, so we know this discrimination is out there. Okay, we know it. So, what do we do about it? Okay, what do we do about it? I would say that, I'll just say myself, for example. I don't consider myself, or I'm not usually perceived, I don't believe, as an overweight person or a fat person. I do have other things about me that I have been discriminated against. I'm a woman. I'm a Black woman, among other things. And I've grown up feeling and being told that I have to work twice as hard, 3 times as hard just to get to the same place. And my lived experience has told me that that is true. I've got 2 master's degrees. I have some PhD training as well. I have, all kind of certifications. I'm just like, have all these things. Because I'm having to constantly prove myself. I'm having to constantly, work 3 times as hard just to be in the same place as someone who's not white and who's not a female, and who's not, the other characteristics that I have that have caused me to be discriminated against. And I say that because it's very similar for fat people as well. They're going to have to work, 2 and 3 times as hard just to get in the same place. Now, one thing that I have an advantage of, not being a fat person, is that there are federal laws that protect me as a Black person. There are federal laws that protect me as a woman. It doesn't mean I'm not going to get discriminated against, but it means that there's less incentive for employers to discriminate against me because of those characteristics. And even when you think about sexual orientation, so think about this. There's less, there are laws that protect, okay? But when it comes to obesity or people who are perceived as overweight, there is not a federal law that protects them, okay? In some local areas, certain states and counties, there may be, oh great, I see some people watching me live. Hey Eldridge, I see you there. Great. So there may be some local laws and county laws that will support and protect people who are perceived as overweight, but it's not federal. It is not federal, so an employer can pretty much do what they want to do. Now, I'll tell you, with my HR background, I know this, under some circumstances, through the Americans with Disability Act, there can be sometimes some protection if being overweight is considered an impairment. But it's tough to go through that route. But again, there's no federal protection, and you kind of have to go on a roundabout way if you want to go through the ADA. So it doesn't really work that well. There's no specific federal protection, very few local protections. Some states, you can check your states. But you know what? I'll tell you this. When I talk to the people I work with, my clients, when I talk to them about what laws are here and there, many of them, it's too much of an effort. They don't want to, fight an employer. They rather just move and go somewhere that makes sense. And for many, that's a good way to go. So I'm telling you about the laws, but for some, it doesn't matter. They just want to go someplace that's going to, respect them. So in any case, this is a situation. What do we do about it? I'll tell you one thing. I had a client who's a big guy, really big guy. And he came to me because he was having a problem getting a job. He's an IT guy. Couldn't get a job, couldn't get interviews. So I helped him with his resume, helped him with his cover letter, coached him on how to interview. He started getting interviews, like boom, 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 interviews, one after another. Could not get a job offer. And he and I reassessed, and I came to the determination that he was probably getting discriminated against because of his weight. It had nothing to do with his qualifications, nothing to do with his resume. It was about his weight. When an employer would greet him when he came in for an interview, like they felt let down. The look on their face looked like they felt let down. Like, oh man, this person's overweight. I wanted to hire them. I was so excited when I read their resume, but now that I see them, I'm let down. Like, you get that energy from people. And this client got that energy. And so I believe he was discriminated against. So what I did, and there's many things that you can do, but when you're in this situation, you can get creative. And my client trusted me to be creative with him. And on his resume, I actually put big guy, big geek, big people person. And so I tweaked it. I framed it in that way. And he would get interviews, and then he got hired shortly thereafter. And one employer, 2 of them actually, had commented on that phrase. And so what it did was, when he went in person, they already knew he was a big guy, whatever that means. They knew that he was a big guy, and I framed it as being a positive thing. Big guy, big geek, big people person. And being in IT, he did kind of help desk stuff, and he would have a lot of interaction with people, so being a people person was important. So that's just one example of how, I reframed it in a creative way. And there's other techniques that I use. But again, he hit a wall because of his weight. But there are, again, ways to get around that. Another thing is, do you want an uphill battle or you want a downhill battle? Okay. You can, if you want to apply for like a high visibility job and all this kind of stuff, it's going to be harder for you as a bigger person to get that. So you could fight that uphill battle or not. You know, it's up to you. But know and be aware. And also in terms of uphill battles, I like to encourage my overweight clients or clients who are perceived as overweight. I like to encourage them to apply to places that are known to be less discriminatory, places that offer bias training. For example, the federal government, they're really good about offering bias training, and they have policies in place, regardless of what the laws say. You know, many of them have policies in place that prevent discrimination and that make the application process, you know, a bit more fair. And so again, uphill battles or downhill battles. You know, many times larger corporations have more protections, and so that's something to consider as well. And then also the other thing, you know, if you're an overweight person, it matters so much more that you have a resume and cover letter that are just awesome, because you're competing against all kind of people. And on top of that, you know, you're overweight. So you just really want to just give yourself the best that you can, you know, the best, you know, just bomb resume, great cover letter to really make it so that, you know, everything shines really brightly, okay? So in short, there is discrimination. We know it's there, and it's just ridiculous, but it is a part of the process. And so know when, you know, if you have a resume or cover letter issue, or when it's actually another issue like discrimination. And then pick your battles wisely. You know, you want to go uphill or you want to have a downhill battle. I prefer downhill battles. I don't want to be in a place where I'm not wanted or where I'm not going to be respected. And so these are things to keep in mind. All right. All right, you all take care. And comment in the chat below. Let me know if this is something that resonates with you. Maybe you have some experience with being discriminated against because of weight. Maybe you have some stories about it. Maybe you have some tips that can help someone else. So let's keep them coming. All right, take care. Bye-bye.